Welcome to another episode of Life's Military Spouses Edition, and we are ending this month with a mutual friend of ours that we have grown to love and adore. Like, we were talking offline, and my oldest was crying in excitement when we told her that our friend Danie, Aunt Danie to my kids, but Danie was on today. And it just brings total joy and excitement for both of us to have you get to be able to be on this episode with us as we talk through military spouses and especially military moms. You get to encompass all of that. A military mom, a military spouse, a military active duty. You checked all the boxes. And so I would love for you to tell everybody else a little bit about you. How long were you in? Who are you? What are you doing? All the things.
Sure. I guess I joined in 2007. My first duty station was Fort Hood. My children were born and raised there. They were raised there for about 5 years. And the military decided to say, hey, we're going to Germany. So we packed up and relocated to Germany. And then I deployed from Germany, of course, with Chris. And we kept going. At that time, I was transitioning from being married. So I was a single mom full time in the Army. So that was a thing. But I did have my tribe, and I want to say thank you to my tribe, especially you, Steph, because you were definitely the number one in my tribe. You still are. But I retired in 2013 after a very serious injury in Afghanistan. I've been, I don't want to say recovered. I'm still recovering with the process. I'm probably going to be recovering for the rest of my life, and I'm okay with that. Uh, I retired, and I was blessed enough to meet somebody else that was in the service. We were friends, and I became his spouse, his wife. So I got to see a different side of the military. It was an adjustment because I was, I was so used to being the one to just put on the uniform and go, and I'll be back, and some more time in the field, and this is the way it is. And then, now I'm the one helping my husband pack up his bag to go to the field or to deployment. It was surreal. And I was like, I got this. I was like, I should be and I think it was more rough around me because it wasn't the fact that he was leaving. I was like, I want to go too. I want to go play. So I missed that camaraderie that we all shared in the military. I've seen that in him every day, and I was just like kind of jealous because you get to do this every day. And I'm retired. And he goes, but you're retired, and I'm like, the same. It's not the same. But during that time, like with the transition, I was able to continue to heal, and then I decided to go back to school for mental health. I had ended up getting my first degree in psychology. And then I had just recently graduated last August with my master's in social work. And I'm studying to take my exam, so I'll be a fully licensed therapist here in the next couple months, which I'm really excited about that. Just seeing things just happen. I tell people, I'm like, I felt like I was in the Army for 20 plus years because of everything that was done. I said, but I was there for 7 years, and that 7 years went by really fast, but really slow at the same time, because of the sacrifices that we had to make. And I had to bring those same sacrifices over, when I became the spouse of the service member. And those sacrifices were a bit different. It was a bit challenging, just knowing Army wives, and talking to Army wives, and like, it's okay, like we don't work 9 to 5, and blah blah. I had to keep telling myself that, like, this isn't a 9 to 5 thing. You know what I mean? Like I have to, support in this area as well as, all these different areas where I'm so used to being supported in. And now I have to sacrifice my time because we have this coming up and this coming up. So I know I would always look forward to those military balls because it was time to just get glam, and I'm like, this is my party. I've been dealing with this for months. This is my party. Like, let me be. But I mean, it was eye-opening. And honestly, like I've said before, like hats off to the military spouses that are still rocking, because it's not easy, and I try to always thank military spouses, because I now see like the bigger sacrifice that military spouses go through. Because although I was in and I understood like what it was like to be gone for a couple weeks, what it was like to be gone for a month, and what it was like to be gone for a year, it still can wreak havoc on emotions and feelings. And you're used to somebody being there and then they're gone. And you're like, now I had to depend on my pillow to lay on. Like, this is not fair. But it was definitely different. I wouldn't change it for the world. Like, I really wouldn't, because it taught me a lot about myself, and it taught me a lot about how to manage when things don't go as planned. Because of course, the army is always a change 42. Like, we got this plan, and then it's like, no, just kidding. Like, plans changed. We're moving things over here, and we're moving things over here. So now, as as a supportive spouse, we now have to change things. It gets frustrating. We're like, we're here to support you. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. So in perspective, what do you think was easier to do? Was it easier to be the active duty member, or was it easier to be the stay-at-home spouse, like the spouse to the military member? Which was easier?
Or was it easier to be the single parent?
Ooh, yeah.
You were all three.
I was.
Right? You were all three. 'Cause
I was.
when I met you from Stephanie, you were, I didn't realize that you were like just got out. And so, and you were a single mom at the time, and like that whole big transition. So like out of the three, I think I would love to hear.
Actually, you have taken pictures of everything that I have gone through. You have caught those moments. You've caught those moments. And I see those moments all the time. And I'm like, wow, like, she's literally been in my life through all of these transitions. And you caught them. You caught them behind your lens. And I appreciate that. So I thank you. And I'm honestly forever indebted to you, because we've definitely, it wasn't just a photography session. It was like friends just hanging out, having fun. Like, we laughed and we joked, and
I had to make it personal somehow,
Yeah, and you did. You definitely did. And I want to thank you for that, because you definitely helped me come more out of my skin. And now I'm like, I got that. Look what I could do. But to answer the question, being a single parent is hard. It is. It's hard, because I'm mom, I'm dad, I'm doctor. You know what I mean? I'm nurse. I'm everything. All at once. I have to. Being a single parent, you have to wear all your hats at one time, and you have to, when it's multiple kids. You know what I mean? You have two different personalities. It took me a little while to understand, like, my kids are separate people, because I would, treat them the same. But, like, raising a young woman and a young man, I had to switch my hat fast. That was, I want to say, being a single parent was probably the hardest, but it was the most rewarding. Between a spouse and active duty, I wanted to, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't know which one would be the hardest out of the two, because they were both pretty hard. But they were hard in different ways. Like on one side of the coin, I'm the one that's leaving. I'm leaving my family. And then on the flip side, I'm the one that's staying, watching my spouse leave. You know what I mean? Leaving us. So they were both pretty hard, emotionally, because nobody wants to leave their kids. Nobody wants to leave their families. But we do it. We sacrifice. I know I would always have to give myself that pep talk. Like, I would have to like, how can I put this? Like, really dig into myself. You know what I mean? And put those sergeant major fingers up, and you know what I mean, and be like, we got to do this. Like, this is sacrificing. This is what we're doing. Like, we're taking care of our kids. We're taking care of the family. Like, they're going to be okay. But sitting on the other side of that table, it's like, who's going to take care of me? Like, I like when you come home. You know what I mean? I like when we sit down and eat dinner together. You know what I mean? Like, I like going off on little dates. I like doing all of this stuff. And now it's like, who am I going to do that with now? So I want to say they were probably equally both hard emotionally, you know.
Yeah. So I've always asked Chris this, and I've said it 1,000,001 times. I could never be the active duty member because I don't think I could comfortably leave the kid. Aside from the fact that me camping and out in the woods is like a joke and a half. I've always said that I think it would be so hard for me to leave the kids. And he looked at it in a way of, it's my duty. This is just kind of what I need to do. And I always felt like maybe it would be a little bit easier for the guys to load up and kind of just put that hat down, like put down the dad hat a little bit
Like,
easier. Yeah. I feel like they have that ability, and not in a bad way. I don't want to say it in it to come across in a negative way, but they can disconnect a little bit easier and it not feel so gut wrenching.
Yeah.
But I think as a mom, having to know, like, you deployed for a year, having to know, like, I'm not going to see my kids for one whole year. Like, I'm going to come home and I'm going to see a whole different kid.
Whole different
And like, just to be like, I have to leave them. Like, I have to physically leave them would be gut wrenching for me. So how did you like prep yourself for that? How did you get in that space to be able to go, I can walk, I have to leave. Not that you want to, but you have to leave and know that, like, I think I'd be a puddle. I would be useless to the and I'd be like, just send me home. Like, I don't feel like I would do anything. So how did you prepare yourself for that space and that ability to, even if it was a field rotation or the deployment, like, to face that time, how did you mentally prepare for it?
Well, getting the heads up months in advance, like I had that helped a lot because it wasn't like last minute stuff. But preparing for it, like I would always spend a lot more extra time with the kids. You know, we would just go out and go do just things, you know, and spend that time. Like even if we didn't go out and go do things, you know, like we would you know, watch things together, watch movies together, would play games together. But we were always together, and just me talking to them. I was also talking to myself out loud, you know, like, hey, this is when I'm leaving, or this is around the time I'm supposed to be leaving, and I'll be back around this time. Like, this is how many weeks I'll be gone, or this is how many days I'll be gone, and you know, just opening them out because then the kids were little, you know, and with Danie, you know, him being the youngest, you know, he's just like, oh, you'll be back tomorrow. You're just going to work. And I'm like, nobody. But just showing, you know, like when we would go to the field, you know, and just pulling out the map and going, hey, like, this is where I'll be, you know, like, I'll be right here. I'm not going to be too far. I'll be right here. But just saying it coming out of my mouth and showing them, it also helped me prepare to leave because those days come fast. You know what I mean? They do come fast. Just having, even if it's day by day, just take it day by day, and that's pretty much what I did. I took it day by day. Like, yeah, I would go through moments in the field where I would be in the shower just bawling, and I'm like, "We got him in the shower because nobody could tell I'm crying." You know, I would let it out because I would miss my kids like that much, you know, and you know, I would try to make it a point if we could, you know, to, you know, if we had reception, if you know, to at least try to talk to them or, you know, say a good night or something. And if I couldn't, I couldn't, but I would try to count down the days. You know, one day at a time, like, okay, let's get through this day. Cool. We got through this day. We got through this day. Now let's get to this point right here. And it was every day. I don't want to say every day was a battle, because it wasn't, but every day it was just like, okay, one more day, one more day, one more day. Excuse me. And that's all it was. It was pep talking myself every day, you know, self-talk. Sometimes I would cuss myself out. Like I'd be like, snap out of it. You know what I mean? Like, you're okay. Like one day, you know, because it would turn into like missing the kids to now I'm just angry. And this is just like, now I'm just angry. Like I'm angry, I'm hungry, I'm cold, I'm, you know, and we're out here doing dumb stuff. I could be at home with my kids. You know, like, what are we doing? It didn't ever get easier. It didn't. We might have made it look easier, but I can tell you, it was never easy leaving, even if it was even if we had duty, like I was always at home. Like if I was on our 24-hour duty, I'm like, I'll be home in a couple hours. I'll be home in a couple hours to come check on you. But that is the easy part. But like leaving for days at a time, you know what I mean? And you're wondering like, what are my kids doing? Are they safe? Are they happy? Are they hungry? Do they miss me? But like Ashley said, like just desensitizing or I guess separating myself, because I knew I had a mission to complete. And I couldn't be emotional on mission because that's a quick way to get people hurt. And I knew that, most, if not all of us were parents. I know we came together as brothers and sisters, and we would have pep talks ourselves like, hey, like, we're all coming home. We know this is just a field rotation, in the real world. When and if we do have to go, because we are going, we're, like, we all got kids, we all have doctors, or, you know what I mean? Like something, we are going home to something. So that's what kept our head in the game. At least that's what kept mine in the game. I got kids to get home to. So I had to suck up them emotions, as you would say, suck it up and drive on. You know what I mean? And that was the motto, like, suck it up and drive on. Like, let's go. We have something to complete.
So, Danie, were you a sport when you had like left and deployed, or even
No.
after? No, not yet.
No.
Gotcha.
No.
I can't remember. Was he in the military? You guys were dual military?
No, he wasn't dual. He was actually the spouse, and I was active duty. We were still married when I left, and my kids made it hard to leave, and he made it easy to leave, if that makes sense. I'm being candid, but
That's okay. We like it.
I'm being honest. He made it easy to leave, but the kids made it hard to leave.
Yeah.
Because as moms, like, yeah, we may have we significant other or spouse, or but our kids are our world. Especially I know, like, just being a mom is something that I'm just like, that comes first. That comes first in everything. And that's what, you know what I mean? I'm like, that's my world. And I hate not being, you know what I mean, near my world. I mean, now they're grown, which is weird, but
They are
they're still my world. Yeah,
they're
they
huge.
Yeah. Lyric will be 21 in July.
Like, they're off on their own.
Yeah, Lyric is living in South Carolina, but Danie is still here. He just turned 18, so he's still wet behind the ears a little bit. So I'm like, take your time. Just take your time, and we will gradually get there. Yeah.
And I have to say, I remember when they were itty bitty. I remember when they were so little, and
I know.
they were sweet and innocent and cute, and I loved them dearly. Like, they were
I know.
so little, and they were and to see them now, I'm like, to think Lyric can drink and Ladani's evil, and I'm like, heavens help me, because I am not prepared for this. Like, and I have to say, it was good for me because it's pressed me to like have my own kids be moving out of that, like at that stage, because
Yeah.
we truly, like, I have to be selfish for half a second and say that I don't know if I could have done the back end of the deployment, let alone Chris getting out and any of that, like that whole phase of our marriage and our life without you, Danie. Like, I genuinely don't think I could have done it, because if it weren't for your kids continuing to keep my kids excited and motivated and engaged, like, we literally had this giant blended family. We have a running joke that she's my sister wife. We're the only.
You should see us walking to the zoo. It's so funny.
it was this like whole running joke that, like, but it started when you guys went to leave for deployment. And I remember this distinctly. You looked me in the eyes, you gave me a hug, and you told me one of the biggest statements of my life that I will never ever forget, is that you looked at me and you go, "You will come home to you, I promised." And it was one of those things that I literally just immediately turned to a puddle, because you understood what needed to happen. Like, that I needed him to come home. And you were going to do whatever. I felt like I had somebody who had my back when I couldn't be there. And it was one of these, it was a different moment. So I felt like when I was on base, if I could see the kids or I could be there and I could be that support for them, I was going to be that for them because you were that for me there. And it was this huge thing. We had like, there was a moment where like, your kids were at my house, my kids were at your house. I mean, you watched Eli for a while when I was working and things were happening. I mean, it was like, we just had.
I've been there for all four. I've been there for all four. Abby was 6 months. I came home. Jackson was 6 months. I was there through Eli's pregnancy. Hi, baby. And Maggie. I was like, wow, like I've literally gone through a whole bunch of phases of life with you. I was like, we're family. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah. And
Hey, Jax.
it was different. It was wonderful because my kids had bigger kids to look up to. They felt like they had, you know, a brother and a sister that could understand them and get this lifestyle that we were running with. And like I said, my 14-year-old still, even now, she just came down a few minutes ago, still cannot pull herself together because her Aunt Danie is here and on the phone and it's just making her lose it. But it was this connection. It was a difference because I know for me, there were many a day where when Chris was dealing with the PTSD, I would literally call you and be like, I don't get it. Like, I don't know how to get through to him. I need something. And it was just a matter of that phone call because you understood what I couldn't understand. And you were there when I couldn't be there. And yet you got it from the spouse's perspective. And so it was this wonderful medium of like, I swear you started your practice way before you were able to. And I was the first client, had vouched for her. She is wonderful. Great doctor. Go ahead, go for it. Love her. She will fix all the problems. And it was one of those moments where I felt like you got me as the spouse, but you got him as the service member. And it was wonderful to be able to have that space that my kids could be like, hey, I'm going to Aunt Danie's. And the great part was you were down the block, so I could literally send them over.
Always send them. Come on.
And it was great because it shows the community. It shows that factor of when you're in the military and you're with each other, we are with each other. We get it. We will link arms and we will grab kids and we won't hesitate. Mm-hmm. And it is all of us doing this, like you said, as a tribe to make it all work. And so it was always, I found it so powerful because it was truly that example for me of like, this is what family does. This is what we do. And when, like you said, getting out was the hardest things because that camaraderie is gone. That phase of like, I don't have my friend down the block anymore that I can just be like, so my house is a wreck. I'm drunk more. Yeah. I feel like filter that. Like I gotta filter that a little bit here where I'm like, I can't just have chaos and people get it.
I didn't care. I'm like, Steph, you got kids. Like, who cares? I got kids too.
No, but that's the beauty of it. You know,
yeah.
That's the beauty of it. And that's what a lot of military spouses actually create for themselves is that community because they don't have their family. They're not, well, for the most part, a lot of them maybe get lucky and get stationed where they are. However, that's not the majority. And so you guys created family, you know, and you guys did life together. I mean, years of life together. It's beautiful to like see how it can work and it can last. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even if you're in two totally different states.
Yes, absolutely. But speaking of being out and getting out, like because now like you've seen that side of it too. And I mean, do you work with the VA? Do you like have like I mean, how is it now having okay, so you said you had a really what happened?
Yeah.
That's your day.
I am.
Heart, wasn't it?
Yeah. So October 20th, 2011. It's almost like I remember that day like it was yesterday, right? We were doing our left seat, right seat with the National Guard unit that came over. I guess they didn't realize how much of the shit we were in, to use my French, there was things happening. Like we were out almost every day. We were getting hit by IEDs, or we were finding them, thankfully. But this particular day, I remember this day because I remember I wasn't feeling good at all. I think I had the flu that day, but I was like, I got to get on this mission. I got to come back because we didn't have anybody else. But we were clearing the same road we always do, but we were looking for what we were looking for, this device. And I was truck number 7 in an 8-truck convoy, and all of the trucks went over. Of course, we don't follow very close to each other because of that reason. And when my truck had went over the same spot that we were looking over, the explosive went off under my truck, and it lifted. I was about 300 meters, I believe they said, off of the road. And when I was being pulled out of my truck, there was still debris coming down out of the sky. And that definitely retired me. So, Steph, don't cry. Don't cry. It's taken me a long time to not cry to tell that story. Don't cry. It's healing. I promise it's healing. It is. It's a part of my journey, it's a part of my path, to just not let it cripple me, because injuries like that cripple a lot of veterans. Gosh, you're gonna have me cry. It does. They hold on to it and they let it run their life. And that's another. I have some reasons why I went into mental health, but that's a big reason why I went into mental health, because of the VA. There wasn't a lot of help for veterans, and then of course, like I'm a female veteran in a unit that they're like, oh, it's an engineering unit. You didn't do anything over there. And I'm like, I didn't get a Purple Heart from driving a damn tractor, guys. Like I promise you, like I didn't get a Purple Heart from operating the hydraulic excavator or digging a hole. Like, no. So, that was definitely a tough battle, because like the doctors would look at me and be like, nothing's wrong with you, or you're faking, or and it was never like the faking word. It was like they were treating me as if I was just blowing smoke up their ass, just to get benefit. And I'm like, no, like that's not what happened. Like that's not what I'm here for. Like, I'm not one of these people, one of these veterans that are going to try to milk the system, because nothing is wrong. You know what I mean? Like, no, like those benefits are there for people that have walked the walk, people that are injured. You know what I mean? Like, heck, how long did it take me to do the things that I needed to do? So I was like, no, like that's not me. But they were like, you're in this bracket, and I'm like, okay, fine, because I didn't want to place myself in that bracket, but I also had to come to the realization that I have these injuries, and they are going to be for the rest of my life. I do things now, to kind of counteract them. But trust me, they let me know that they're there. It's just, they do. And again, just me talking about that one particular day, it is healing, because, now it's like, I talk about it like, like I'm watching a TV show, and I'm like and it just gets easier. I do have my moments, around October, I do. But those get easier too, because I have my tribe, and those that are in my tribe know the things that I go through silently, and especially around that time, just me talking about it, just somebody like, oh, I didn't mean it. It's okay. Like it's therapy for me. It's okay. I'm bent. I'm not broken. And that's how I look at it, like I'm bent. I'm not broken, and the pieces that were broken, it's okay. Like, we put them back together. They may not be the same, but we put them back together into something else, into another masterpiece, if you will. Excuse me.
But Danie, you were one of 6 women in a combat engineer unit that was never supposed to deploy with women.
Nope. Matter of fact, our battalion commander didn't even know he had women on the line until I started talking to him, because we were doing our checks before we went out on our mission. And me and my roommate, which was she was a gunner with me, we were getting suited up, and of course we're all in uniform, we all have our gear on, we all look the same, and then he comes and stands in front of me and was like, oh Bob, what do you do here, da, 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 da. And I have my gunner stuff on and I start talking, and he stepped back about a few feet, and I was like, what did I say? And he's like, I didn't know I had females. And then I'm like, well, there's a few of us here, like, and I was like, we got a commander, we have the platoon leader. I was like, we're gunners. I was like, they're dismount, like you have a whole handful of us, like we're out here doing things. I had no idea.
That makes me mad because, like, what kind of
Yeah, I know.
what kind of leadership is commanding like a whole unit and you don't even know who you have? Like, there's so many
And where they are.
Exactly. And there's so many places. This is why, like, a lot of places in the military and a lot of units in the military are crap, because there's poor leadership and they have no idea how to lead and they have no idea what to do, and it gets people hurt.
Yeah, and it gets people seriously hurt. It does. I mean, that was, and I remember that. I do remember that day too, because me and my roommate, we just kind of chuckled, like we were laughing the whole time. And I was like, did you see his face? I was like he just seen a ghost. And she goes, I know. I was like, that's funny. She's like, I guess he thinks only guys can do this job. I said, I guess so. I was like, but here we are. You know what I mean? Like, she's on a grenade launcher. I'm on a 50 cal. Like we have some of the biggest weapons that we operated out there, and I'm like, we're two females doing it. But I'm like, I really wish that others would understand, like, females have been on the front line for a very long time. We just aren't recognized because we're females. So when they I'm going to hold that for another conversation because something happened a few years after that, and it is infuriated me and the other females that were on this team, on this mission, because I was like, wait, oh yeah.
Okay, so going back to you being out then,
Mm-hmm.
what things have you noticed being out now? Like, is it hard for you being a female veteran? Is it like to get, like, I know you mentioned it a little bit, but like, let's kind of lean in a little bit more on that. And so, like, tell me the things. Like, I know everybody says it's hard going with the VA, but like,
I mean, I still do. I do still deal with the VA. I get services to the VA, but like Bass and I started like getting involved with the VA. I noticed a lot of things that women weren't getting. Like a lot of times I would have to go to like an outside provider because the things that I needed, you know what I mean? Like they catered everything to the male population, and especially with it, and like everything, like from medical to mental health to everything, So when a female veteran comes in, seeing the combat that I have seen and gone through, I don't think anybody was prepared for that. I don't think that the providers that I've seen were prepared for that. So I started to see another provider and I had requested, I said, I need to see a provider that is a veteran. And of course they were just like, what do you mean? Like, she's great and she handles veterans and she's been doing this for, and I'm like, no, like, she's not understanding. You know what I mean? I need to see a veteran provider. Because veterans go into those dark places. They want to be able to be in that dark place, but also have somebody there that understands that dark place, and understands that it could be difficult. It could be difficult to get out of that dark place, and how to talk us through getting out of that dark place. And a lot of them I don't really think they understood that a female veteran again has gone through the traumatic things that we have gone through, because they're used to essays and being discriminated against. I don't think they were used to a female coming in there and going, hey, this is what I seen. This is what's happening. This is where my mind is at. Because the first thing they want to do is pour drugs down my throat, put a Band-Aid over it, and it wasn't helping me at all. It was numb. I didn't feel those feelings, and I was like, something's not right. and it made me disconnected, and I didn't like it very much. Thankfully I got a therapist that was not in the VA, and she understood. We work with her, but my new therapist, she is in the yeah. Go ahead. She is in at the VA. She has military, I guess, experience. Not necessarily a vet, but she understands. She's been closer to the military than a lot of the other ones, and I've been rocking with her for a few years. She understood. Like, you've gone through a lot more than the average woman. And I'm like, yeah, I guess I have. But she helps me understand, what I mean, and how to manage that. But as far as me working with the VA, no. No, I'll work with veterans all day, but I don't want to be.
Gotcha.
When when things change, I might, but I'm like, they haven't changed enough for me. So
now you were going through coming home from a deployment, injured, at the time you were then going through a divorce, dealing with your own mental health. Now you had everything going against you. Statistically speaking, all the things, you should have never been able to make it through that. So how did you step through and, I have to say, become quite the success that you are, because you are? How did you get through that space, that time between a divorce and mental health and your own kids, and explaining to them, like, I just think the fact of having to explain to them, like, I was injured, but I'm okay. I was at home early, but I'm okay. Like, that whole concept would probably be number one of difficulty then to even talk about. But now to think, like, you're now having to deal with all the other statistically proven things to set you back or possibly make you not even want to continue forward. So how did you manage to get through it?
She came and got photo study.
I did. I did. I cut off all my hair and came and got these photo sessions done. It wasn't easy because, like, coming home from work, then going home to work, it definitely wasn't easy. I definitely went through a dark, I was in a dark place for a very long time. But I was so used to putting on a smile, and just kind of pushing through it. But I pushed through it for my kids, you know what I mean? And my kids are the ones that kept me going. There were a lot of dark times where, you know what I mean, where I shouldn't be here. And again, I'm being very candid. There was a few attempts, and I shouldn't be here. But I want to say me and my kids are, I guess we're so connected. Like, they know when I'm off. They know when I'm off. And it's just, I don't want to say it's uncanny. It's just, they're my little angels. They're my guardian angels. They're grown, they get on my nerves, but they're still my little guardian angels. But, it was always my kids that kept me going. Especially after, the last one, I'm like, my first thing was always like, what are they going to do if I'm not here? You know what I mean? Like that. And that's always my thought. Like, what are they going to do if you're not here? You know what I mean? Like, you've always taken, like, you're their mom, you know what I mean? But they've always kept me pushing, forward, even in those dark moments, even when it was hard. I don't think they understood how hard, they kept me going. I do tell them sometimes, I'm like, man, you guys really did it for me. But they definitely kept me going, and they still do, because, just because the war is over doesn't mean the battle is over. So, I mean, I'm okay. I'm better. I'm better than I was yesterday and the day before that. And I have to keep putting one foot in front of the other. And of course, taking the mental health route, with my career, it helped me work on myself at home. And it helps me work on myself every day, because I do therapy every single day. So, like, when I hear myself talking to my clients, like, I'm taking that into, like, dang, I really needed to hear that from myself today. I can't, it's hard to give somebody a pep talk and not be amped about it, because sometimes you have to be your own cheerleader too when you're trying to be a cheerleader for somebody else. I tend to listen to myself a little bit more, whereas I did it. I did it at all. I can definitely admit that. I was like, that was good advice, but I do it. I did, but I wasn't doing it as often. I tell people self care, but I was letting my self care go down the drain. Until, somebody stopped me and was like, "Are you doing self care?" And I'm like, you know what? I'm not, and then that's when I got back into running and going to the gym and, hiking up that beautiful incline. That incline saved my life too. It was definitely an attitude adjuster. When I felt myself getting into that dark space, I would go to the incline. Like I was at the incline 2 to 3 times a week. I was. But once I got to the top, I seen the world differently. And then I was like, you know what, I needed that. I'm with fresh air and I could see the whole city from up there. And, I'm in the wilderness and it definitely helped. So 1 foot at a time, even if it's going up the side of the mountain, 1 foot at a time.
It's while you're talking, I just was thinking like it's amazing what breaks you is when you find your calling. Dan, it sounds like you found your calling in your mental health and becoming a therapist and things that you needed that you weren't finding, you became for yourself, and you're going to be pushing that out to the world. And I think that's freaking amazing. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. I mean, I'm gonna hug you guys.
I remember having to coach you in how to smile.
I know. But I ever smiled. I was like, I don't have nothing to smile about except for my kids, and my kids aren't here. You know what I mean? Like,
and that's the thing. Like, I didn't know your story at the time, so I didn't understand. So I'm just thinking, okay, some people are just, some people don't know, like, what do I do? Like, do I do this? I mean, like, but hearing your story and like having got to know you like over the years and better understanding, like, yeah, like you went through shit. And I'm sorry again, pardon our French, but you did. And you didn't have a lot to smile about at the time. You were going through hell. And it wasn't physically, although that was happening as well. But a lot of it was mental. And that plays a huge role on just even your physical appearance. And so, like, just to like watch you like transform, even though I don't see you often, but to watch you transform, like when I first met you and then a few times after that with other photo sessions, you've bloomed even then. And then I came down and I shot your wedding. You're a completely different person. And so like to watch you transform has been such an amazing privilege and an honor to like be a witness to it. And I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. And thank you for being a part of it, girl. Like, thank you for being a part of it. Because honestly, the kids still talk about the rattlesnake.
And what's that?
I don't remember. Yeah, right. Yeah, so the rattlesnake, and I was like, yeah, that was for her family photo shoot for my birthday.
Yeah. Things I'll do for you.
I know. I appreciate it. I was like, woo, dodge death on that one.
Yeah. So proud.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Girl, like, honestly, there's many times, you know what I mean? Like, there's many times that not just me, but many people want to give up, you know what I mean? And again, like with veterans, like sometimes we want to give up all the time, you know what I mean? But we have to find that we have to find our purpose. And I knew I had a purpose. I just didn't know what it was, and I would sit in my room and I'm like, what is my purpose? Like, where do I find my purpose? You know what I mean? Like, where do I find this purpose? And I would have like private Bible studies by myself. I'm like, where am I gonna find, like, is there a book? Like, what is it? And sure enough, like, I just kept hearing Ephesians, the book of purpose, right? And I was like, why am I being like, guided to the book of Ephesians? And sure enough, when I opened the book, it was like, this is the book of, and then the book of toothpaste. I said, okay, we have jokes. Got it. Like, I asked for this. I asked for this, and I deep dove into that. And, I don't want to say like I went into my little cocoon, but, I did, like I had to. And I had to remove a lot of things from my life, but a lot of chaos was coming in with me removing things. It's like having a garage door open and you're sweeping the things out of your garage. You know what I mean? But while you have the garage door open, there's more shit coming in. And you're just like, ah, and and with the things that are there, you're trying to manage it and you're trying to assist to it. Excuse me. And sometimes it can get too much. And you're just like, forget it. It's just going to stay here in the garage until I open the garage back again. Because every time I open this door, something else comes in here and I'm tired of it coming in here. So, we're going to break these problems down to smaller issues until they aren't an issue anymore. And then I'll open my garage door back open. How about we just crack it for right now? And not open it all the way up. We'll just crack it. And that's what I've been doing. I just I've removed things, I removed people, and I found a sense of peace. I found a sense of peace in the quiet. And I know a lot of people don't like being in the quiet, but I'm like, sometimes the quiet is the best thing for you, because you can sort things out. It's not chaos. Because again, active duty military deals with chaos every day, and veterans deal with chaos, even if it's not every day, but we deal with chaos. And we have triggers, that we hide from people. We try to tell people, like the little things that might set us off. And then you have people that tiptoe, around you like, oh my God, like they're about to explode. No, I'm fine. I'm not going to explode. I'm just trying to let you know, like, that could be a trigger. Like I might have to step off or walk away. It's just little things. And I appreciate you, ladies.
Well, I have to say, Danie, that there have been many a day where I know it was a pep talk from you that got me through a moment. I mean, you have watched the young and dumb 21-year-old who couldn't handle her own liquor many a time had to hold my own hair back, had to hold my hair back.
All right.
Girl, you need to take a seat. And not on the table any longer. There were many.
It's all right. I had your water and your hair tie. It was cool. I was like, I got you, girl.
I mean, she said to undress me and then some. Like, I mean, this girl has been to held my back harder than I have ever needed somebody to have my back. And yet, all at the same time, it was mutual, because I remember phone calls where all I had to say was Danie needs me with keys in my hand, and it was no doubt, no question, nothing else was asked of me but go. I've got the house. Like, there was never a question. The minute I told Chris, like, I gotta go and Danie needs me, it was literally just go do what you need to do, be there, just tell me how I can help on the back end of it. And it was, when you asked us to be at your wedding, it was a duh. Like, how can we? And even with the horror stories of that moment of no hotel and flying roaches and all of the like insanity that came with that moment, it's just been one of those moments where it has been my utmost pleasure to be able to not just say that I have a best friend in you, but that she is my best friend, is a powerhouse and an amazing woman and a veteran on top of it. And she is not just a friend, but she's family. And this is how we run our house, is with wide open doors and no questions asked. It's just, that's what it is. We just tell me what I need to know enough to get freaked out. And how much bail money might I need in the end of it all? Like, do I need this shovel and where are we going? Like we just do. Don't tell me too much, because I don't want to be an accessory. Like, I just need to just tell me the basics. What do I need? And I want to say thank you Thank you, sir. Not just supporting me, but supporting my home, supporting all of us. And then on top of it, for just being the powerhouse woman you are and stepping into your calling, this space that you are going to literally change the lives of so many other people. But not choosing to end it there. Like to sort of fighting through those dark moments, for being an advocate for yourself, for speaking up when it wasn't okay, and for just being you. I want to say thank you. I want you to know how much I appreciate you and all that you do for us. And I think that you represent not just an amazing human, because you are. I could talk all day about you. I could talk all day with you. I could do all of that. Like, I brag to the nines about you. But also just you know, our Ashley and I have this motto that when we started the podcast, it was about unsilencing the 1%. And you fit into not just the 1%, but an even smaller fraction of that 1% that is the female active duty and the female perspective of the military. And I think and then on top of it, you were a single parent during some of it, and you're facing all the things. Like, you are facing all of the things, and you show what perseverance can look like, what a tribe can look like, what it can mean to battle and rise above. And so thank you for being willing to share your story with us and our listeners. Thank you for being willing to talk, to heal, to step forward and do the hard work that so many others don't necessarily want to do, don't feel the need to do. So I thank you for being that person, but also giving that representation to so many others that, like, you can do this.
You
Like,
could do this. Yeah.
you really can.
Be like Nike and just do it.
Exactly. And so
I got metaphors all day. That's how I have to talk to them. I'm like, I speak in metaphors. I'm sorry. Like, that's just who I am. They're like, it makes sense though. Be like Nike and just do it.
it really does. It really does. So I am honored to say that we get to finish up the month having you as our special guest this day, and today. But listeners, I want you to truly follow along and hear about what we have coming this summer and all the things that we have coming forward. But don't forget that there are other perspectives to this military lifestyle than just what we have. But always remember, thank your vets. And
It's just
you
fun.
never know what kind of battles somebody else is facing. So you never know that maybe that smile is all they need, that phone call is all they need, to help them get through. So if you are that person who is, I just need that phone call, don't be afraid to reach out to somebody, to say those words, to be an advocate for yourself. But if you have that friend and you maybe haven't heard from them in a little while, or maybe you talked to them yesterday and you just feel like, you know what, I gotta call them today. Don't be afraid to call that person, because you have no idea how much they might need to hear your voice today, and how much it would mean to them. Please, listeners, make sure that you know that you are not alone. There is a space for you. There are people with advocates and people who want to help you. Your mental health is so key to everything. And so we hope that you guys have just oodles of knowledge now, and you've gotten to meet some of our amazing people. And we're incredibly grateful for you as listeners, but also Danie as being our guest today.
Guys.
To be a part. Welcome to living in my house. And so thank you for being here, and we will talk soon. Thanks, guys.